This is heaven. We're currently packed in on our way to Sammit HQ. For those of you that know him, this will be finally the time that we can meet and film some content together. For those of you that don't know him, he drives an S chassis that's, let's say, very similar to mine. Hey! There he is.
You guys have a nice drive here?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is your shop.
Yeah.
This is a freaking museum right now.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
I have to say, the GC8's Adams, so that's not mine, but everything else is mine.
I also love, I found that a lot of lights in Japan, they at least flicker to my frame rate, so you guys could just disregard that.
Oh, yeah. It's because everything in Japan is 50 hertz with the electricity. So if you set your camera to PAL, everything won't flicker.
Oh.
Yeah. And then down south in Japan is 60 hertz. So like there's like a halfway point where the power stations are different.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Obviously, I have a pink and blue S chassis that I slide. And the question really is who did it first and why are they so similar? And I guess we're gonna confront and answer that right now. Explain to me exactly how it, because I know it has to do with Yashio Factory, right? What exactly is Yashio Factory and how does it relate to your car?
So Yashio Factory is owned by a guy called Okamoto Kazuyoshi, otherwise known as Oka-chan. And all the way since like back when tuning started in Japan and Sylvia's existed in S chassis, he's been known as like the SR god. The Sylvia god. So here's a shop called Yashio Factory that's based in Yashio, Saitama, on the other side of Tokyo, and all he works on is Sylvias. Wow. And like, do you remember watching any of the old hot version stuff where they're like racing on the toge? Yeah. So whenever anyone would bring like an S15 or an S chassis, the guys would race it and then they'd talk about it at the end and they'd always compare it to Oka-chan's thing. And they'd be like, it's not a Yashio Factory tuned Sylvia, but it's pretty good. You know, like that was always like the thing. So he was just known as like pretty much the best tuning guy when it came to S chassis, and his color was pink.
Gotcha.
So when I moved to Japan 8 years ago, and he kind of took me under his wing, and we all joked that I'm like his adopted son, and he's my like Japanese dad. He just kind of put me on the team, and I've been running his cover and representing him ever since.
That's sweet. So yeah, and I think in the timeline of things, he was first. I, on the other hand, I just came along and I wanted a pink and blue. I wanted a whole cotton candy themed car, so it just completely is coincidence. I never followed along all the Yashio Factory and stuff and whatnot. And your car is much nicer because this is like a nice painted.
What do you run under the hood of yours though?
So I have a S15 SR. That's pretty much stock.
Woo! That would be the equivalent of this one for me then.
Yeah, so this is your OG car, right?
Yeah, this is my OG car. We call it Ichigoki, which means like the #1 machine that we built on the channel. It's a bit beat up right now, but it's literally supposed to be going to the shop and fixed up. This is my SR car. This thing makes 500 horsepower like from 2800 up. It's ridiculous. The best turbo for the SRs now is the Garrett G25, hands down. Like you just can't beat that response and power. The G series turbos are just nuts, mental. So it's a 2.1, built it all myself, and everything on here is all like Link ECU, and kind of like a blend between Japanese tuning and new technology. So we've got like a cam angle sensor instead of like a crank like trigger sensor instead of like the old fashioned one. So we have no issues with that. And then like, running thermal fans, but proper spell ones.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous. I can hot lap this thing and it doesn't go above 92 degrees Celsius.
Really?
Yeah. So it's just great.
Yeah.
And it's like got that super crazy response feel that like SRs have and that super torquey thing.
That's the dream right there. Yeah. Man, I could only freaking wish my engine bay looked like this. This is, just this valve cover alone.
Most of it's all like Yashio Factory stuff. So, I try to keep it as clean as possible, but that's also like a double-edged sword because then you don't want to drive it that much because then it gets dirty and dusty. And always want to keep it clean.
Okay, question. How do you do this design?
The valve cover?
The valve cover design.
Oh, so Yashio Factory.
Cars this year.
Yeah, so Yashio Factory makes those, and what it is you strip everything off the car, all the paint off it, right, off the cover, and then you get a really thin angle grinder disc, and you just like go over it like that, and then you do a candy paint with no base.
You remember the whole booth? They had like one whole booth with cars with this design on it.
Yeah. Oh, so that's what they do.
Those cars are like hundreds of thousands of dollars in labor because they're doing it by hand by like die grinders. So they strip all the paint off the car, sand it all back to bare metal in one direction, and then they'll go through and do all the artwork with the little die grinders and disc pads and stuff. But this thing's going to kind of like it's a street car, so it's fully registered and everything, and we're going to be upgrading it to the same wide body kit that's on this one.
Oh, sweet.
So it'll have like the same fenders and lips and stuff, and it'll be just as wide.
Yeah.
And then that'll be fully street. And then this one's going to kind of like, I'll bring it out for special events and stuff, and I'll drive it a bunch. But then this one's going to be like more of the beater car.
Oh, okay. That
Which
makes
is the
sense.
car I picked up in Okinawa for $3,500. That had wheels on it worth more than the whole car I picked it up for.
Wow,
It was
that was kind of like a abandoned barn find kind of thing, right?
It actually absolutely was. Yeah, it was wild, dude.
Only in Japan.
Yeah, literally.
Finding stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess to conclude on this thing, I mean, this car you'll probably never get rid of, right? I mean, this is like your Adam LZ's cream
Yep.
S13. Everyone's got their Halo starter drift car.
This is like my Halo car, but like this is the car I first got in Japan and started drifting. So this one.
That's right, yeah.
It's a 33 Skyline with a 34 front end. It's a little controversial. A lot of people don't like that, but
I know. I remember my first time seeing one. It's definitely,
it's weird, right?
to me, it's the clash of the most two separate body styles.
Yeah.
But I think because your 34 front end doesn't like have such extended aero down low, it actually kind of it comes
Kinda
together.
flows.
Yeah,
The way
it
I
kind
like
of
to
works.
look at it is like an aggressive front end, curvy rear end.
Yeah.
Just like I like my girls. But no, the engine's pretty hurt right now. We've either got a cracked ring land or like broken valve stem seals and a bunch of other stuff. So this has just been patiently waiting for N1 blocks to come back in stock because we're going to do like a pretty cool RB build for it. But
Gotcha.
I'm on the fence. I'm probably going to make it a 33 front end again, and you know, we'll give this thing the love and the care that it needed. But this thing was what started everything for me. This is kind of like the first car here.
I'm guessing this is like one of the more recent things.
Yeah, so this one I picked up, it's got no papers, and I got it for like $1,800. 4-door Skyline.
Jeez.
The guy I got it off was Josh Eott.
Oh, okay.
He bought it off Medicuddy with no papers. Well, we were able to track down the original owner. We've just sent them, like, contacted them and reached out to them to try and get the paperwork, because then if this is street legal, then that changes the whole direction of the car. But I bought this to just take everything off it to put into my other 4-door I fixed out. That was
So like parts car.
yeah, but if this one turns out to have papers, well then that's a different situation, right?
Yeah. Now you have just a whole working car.
Well, yeah, I have a car that I got for $1,800 that's now worth maybe 12 grand. So
That too,
with
yeah.
papers, it just changes everything.
And it's pretty dang nice on the outside.
Dude,
Like,
it's
oh my god.
There's only like 2 rust spots, which is surface. There's a little bit on the seal here from just sitting outside. And then there's a fair bit of rust because the master had failed. So this thing arrived with no brakes, and the master failed and leaked all the brake fluid down there. So I just got to clean all that off and repaint it. It's good.
And then we have your other
15.
abandoned 15.
Dude, have you ever seen, I didn't know you could do this, but Evo 8 Brembo upgrade.
No, I would never know. It's got air ride.
Yeah, this came with a full like airlift performance kit.
Strange. So
Yeah.
this must have been at least like pretty flashy and
It
like.
was a full Rocket Bunny car.
Oh really?
Yeah, so it had the like Werkmeister, I can't remember like the VS, I can't remember the exact model, but like those wheels were on there, but the aero kit got stolen off it, but not the wheels. Go figure. It was so weird. So like it was sitting in the grass like this, and it was, the rails are great, but we got to cut everything from like here up, and including the strut towers and everything. All of that's coming off, and new pieces are being put on. So
what are the like biggest differences you notice like when you go drifting in the States versus like over here? Because now you do it frequently.
Yeah, I always like touching on this, which is like the clique culture. You know what it's like in the US and like Western culture. Everyone's kind of like quick to give you their opinion on your build and talk negative about it, right? But like over here, everyone, it's all about, oh, hey, that's different. I don't agree with that, but I respect the hell out of that, and that's your thing.
Yeah.
And everyone's like that. Like, different shops have different styles. Like Okachan stuff is all pink and crazy, and then you've got other shops that do different colors that are crazy, and they don't like that just because it's a different paint color or a different style of tuning, whatever, but they still appreciate the hell out of each other, and there's honor and respect there. So I think that's kind of cool. But like everyone just drives together and has a good time. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Everyone just does what they can so that their friends can drive with them too.
Yeah,
It's
that's so cool.
It's like, hey, you don't have a car? Drive this car. Drive mine. I don't care. If you crash it, we'll figure something out later. Whatever. Like,
That's
just
so
let's all
cool.
just go drive together and have fun.
Yeah, because that's the exciting part is just seeing your buddies around you progress, and then also when drifting gets to the point where you've kind of mastered the art on your own, you want people to be able to drive with anyway. So you got to kind of build up your group.
Yeah, like it sucks when like you're out there and you can't drive with anyone. You know what I mean? Like if there's a big skill difference or anything like that, and like you don't want to be the person bullying people out on the track either. together. So like for me, when I see my friends tapping on my door, I get just as hyped. And like, you know, seeing them do better than me, that's what I want. Like, I just want people to be able to get more into motorsports and drifting.
Are there big misconceptions about the drift culture here that you'd say? Like,
I think like the biggest misconception is like street drifting. Everyone always thinks like everyone's street drifting in Japan. It's like the biggest, craziest, like coolest thing. Everyone goes out Friday nights, and it's like there's a select group of people that do that, and then there's the professional drivers and everything like that. Where like if we go out street drifting and any of our sponsors or any companies in Japan find out about it, we're cut off.
Oh.
Like it's super taboo. The local news over here, like NHK, will go out and like just go on full hate campaigns on television and stuff, talking about how bad drifting is and like how it, you know, is negative and antisocial and all that kind of stuff. So it's this huge taboo thing. Go back like 20 years ago, everyone was out drifting on the mountains and stuff in daylight in the middle of the day and things like that in hachirokus, and that was then. But now is very different.
Gotcha.
So like it's super like no shops will kind of like work with people that are street racers, known street racers, any kind of social media that's posted up. You can never compete in like D1, or Formula Drift, or anything like that. Like you're completely outcasted. But what's interesting is these companies are like, oh, you can do it overseas when you're visiting the US and Australia and stuff. Just don't do it in Japan. So it's like, it's really different.
One of the first nights we were here, I forget who said it, but they're like, oh, we should go to the mountains to watch some drifting. I'm like, you can't just drive there at night and expect to just find it, I feel like, right?
No, you can.
You can?
Yeah,
really?
Yeah.
You think so it is that frequent then?
It is definitely that frequent, but it's all like, you know, young people and like those kind of like, I don't want to say like rebellious, that's probably the wrong word, but like people who still want to like carry on that old Japanese tradition of drifting. Like there's definitely like a lot of groups like that, but there's small like collective people that go out. And I would say like there's the street drifters that are all about that culture and go out and do it in the mountains away from everybody. And then there's kind of like that takeover style group of young people. They go out the front of Daikoku with the crowd of people and they're trying to run their car and use human beings as clipping points.
Oh God.
That's just like super sketchy. And everyone's like puts that on the same table, like in the same category. So there's like, you know, and like to be completely honest, there are pro drivers that do still go out and do it, but like they're with their select friends, no one knows who they are, like no one taking photos, no videos, no nothing. And then there's also, everyone uses cars with number plates that are registered under other people and stuff like that. Everyone generally has a street car that go out and have some fun on the toge, but like no one knows about it. You know, it's super kept under wraps.
We pray that the takeover style stuff that's in America just does not fully get its way over here, because I've heard like it's kind of like at least gotten slowly worse over time in certain things. But I don't think, I at least don't see Chargers like literally with people flying out of them right now. So hopefully we can keep it that way.
They are. The grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. So like when you guys think street drifting's cool in Japan, the Japanese young kids are looking over in the States and seeing that and going, that's cool. So it's a little sketchy right now. But to be completely honest, I think takeovers is probably the most like destructive thing to the car community that we've seen today. Like it's so bad, like from a PR perspective, because everyone's just like, oh, that's just car people, automotive guys, like that, they just put us all in the same category.
And we're in like a dying scene in itself, just with everything going like electric, and just the idea of like, if you have it's kind of like smoking cigarettes, you know, it's just like you're not doing a service to anything by having crazy cars like these. So having crazy events like that where like danger is now getting involved, it's just like, it's only making things worse.
You want to cold start this?
To lose.
It's gonna take like 3 or 4 goes because it's E85 and it's cold.
So I noticed that I saw that on another like 180 here. So that's the easy way on just keeping your silencer on, is just using one of these.
Yeah, just use the vice clip. Sometimes you see these all over the road.
Oh really?
They fall off.
Wow, that is a straight pipe.
Sounds just
years.
Oh my lord.
Yeah, I had to stop. There's only so much of that I can do before.
Right? It's like, how can you even get away with any of that? Like, I mean,
Neighbors complaining?
Not really. Most of the neighbors are like all gone because all of that in front of my shop's getting demolished and the main road's getting installed.
they ran away.
There's a couple of houses right behind there, but there's only certain times I can get away with that, and pretty much now everyone's awake and head to work. So,
How much power is it pushing?
so we've got it tuned to 850, but it'll do 1,000. Yeah, like I mean, we could turn it up more, put a bigger turbo profile on there. It's only a 3 liter though. Like we don't have it tuned. Sorry, we don't have like a stroke in there, but like yeah, there's like a fine line with like response of the 3 liters. If you go 3.4 and a much bigger turbo, then you can make like 1300 and still be super responsive. But with this to make 1300, you're gonna have a bunch of turbo lag and you need like nitrous helpers and stuff. But for this, like 850 is like really good, and for the comp that I'm in, more than enough.
Dang, so he has his own sensor in here. Make sure he doesn't die alive. Oh, no struggle.
I got this like really dialed well.
Yeah, oh my god. I was not used to that. Mine takes a little bit of a sputter, my freaking battery wiring and whatnot. It'll always need a little bit of a jump.
You can already hear it spooling on idle.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Handheld, by the way.
Okay.
Full street car, so like you can drive this and chill.
Now, this is the sound that I'm familiar with. Not entirely.
The headers are fine on this one.
yeah, that's true. He's also got, I mean, it's a 2.1. Mine's still a 2. So.
I'll bring this forward a little bit.
Okay, sweet. Oh, he got the fancy clutch.
I love the oil splatter on the back.
Hey man.
SR moment.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, you can't escape it whenever you have any sort of JDM motor. They just kind of poo everywhere. I could only wish my SR turbo sounded like that.
So like this was kind of like controversial too because I was Team Yashio, but I had a Skyline and I was like the only one there that wasn't S chassis.
Oh.
So that's why like this car was so special because Akachan had this in storage and it kind of got passed down to me and it was wild. It had like 36,000 kilometers on it, so it was super low mileage. And the car used to be a previous comp car for a guy who like got his way up to D1 lights, he won it. And then was like, yeah, I've accomplished my dreams. And he went back to school, did med school now. He's one of the top doctors and surgeons in the Yokohama hospital. So it's like this crazy like story of like people like accomplishing their dreams and drifting and then passing it on. So it used to be an old like sponsored Yashio car from back in the day. It used to be fully blue and
yeah, that's super sick.